Texas is a unique place. When we came in the Union in 1845, one of the issues was that we would be able to leave if we decided to do that. If Washington continues to thumb their nose at the American people, who knows what might come out of that.
Who knows what might come of it? That was the governor of Texas, Rick Perry, flirting to the point of adultery with the idea of his state seceding from the Union. What the governor's argument has in political potency is perhaps making up for its lack of historical accuracy. The Texas Constitution does not actually grant the state the right to secede from the country, a fact that even the Texas Secede organization acknowledges. But even though he's talking about secession generally, Governor Perry isn't actually pursuing it right now. Instead, he has endorsed legislation that just asserts Texas's sovereignty. And Texas is, by no stretch of the imagination, a lone state on this issue. Oklahoma passed its own sovereignty resolution yesterday. Other states, including Arizona, Montana, Michigan, Missouri, and Washington, have all had similar resolutions introduced this year. There are also known sovereignty movements reportedly underway in at least 20 other states, including Pennsylvania, California, and Alaska, the very state whose governor, Sarah Palin, is married to a man who was twice a registered member of the Secessionist Alaskan Independence Party. It's beginning to feel a little like 1860, isn't it? Except the states aren't clinging to a slave-based economy despite its immorality. This time they're mad about the economic stimulus package, maybe? I don't know exactly. Here now is Wall Street Journal columnist Thomas Frank, author of the book The Wrecking Crew, How Conservatives Rule. Mr. Frank, thank you so much for joining us.
How are you doing today, Rachel?
Great. A little weirded out by the Civil War theme in politics. It's not a new idea.
It's taken a sharp turn, hasn't it?
Yeah, these folks have been around for a long time, but now it seems like really mainstream folks are jumping on this very strange bus.
That's exactly the point I was going to make, that this is what you're saying, and what's one of the more sort of surprising things about these Tea Parties, or it's surprising to people like you and me, is how mainstream extremism is in the Republican Party, in the conservative movement. And this goes back quite a ways, back to when the conservative movement discovered populism and discovered how to start marketing itself to a mass audience. It sort of took this extremist bent, and it's never looked back.
Why are we seeing people like Sarah Palin, people like Rick Perry, and these other sort of very ambitious mainstream Republican politicians flirt with this stuff now? Why do you think it's happening now?
Well, for one thing, look, obviously the Obama and the stimulus package and the deficit stretching, from here to eternity, the Republican rank and file is not happy about this, and they're of course pandering to the base. They're pandering to the kind of people that turn out for primary elections. Look, they're trying to speak to the movement, and there's also, I don't know if you know about this, Rachel, there's this competitor of yours that has come out. There's this other network that's really strongly embracing the Tea Parties and this kind of lunatic fringe, and they want that network really badly. They want that network to like them.
Well, I mean, I try not to, because I understand the waters in which I swim. I try not to get too ostentatiously hyperbolic about things like patriotism, but I try not to get too jingoey. But I wonder if there is not a risk of being called un-American here. I mean, they do literally want to break up the country, right?
Right, but you got to remember, un-American is what they have been calling people like you and me for a really long time. That's what underlies this whole thing, is that conservatism, or I should say the conservative movement, the sort of, the hardcore of the movement. Not all conservatives and not all Republicans I'm talking about here, but the hardcore of the movement understand themselves as being more American than people like you and me. I have a bumper sticker in my office that I always just keep to remind me of this. It says, there are Americans and there are liberals, right? And you remember all the red state, blue state stuff from just a few years ago, where they were the heartland, they were authentic, they were pure, they were real hard-working Americans, whereas liberals were supposed to drink lattes, drive Volvos, do all these affected things. Liberals are supposed to be part of an elite. There's something kind of otherworldly about them, and so liberals are not really worthy of the respect of real conservatives. And so it's very easy for them to understand that they are the majority, that they are the rightful, rulers of this country, even when they aren't.
Thomas Frank?
I mean, case after case, you know.
Well, it is this idea that that we'd be sad to see them go. This is the other complicated thing here.
Well, check it out. They've been gone for what? How long have they been gone? 3 months?
3 months out of power. Yeah, now it's time to break up the country.
Yeah.
Thomas Frank, author of the book The Wrecking Crew, How Conservatives Rule. Thanks for joining us tonight, Thomas. Nice to see you.
Sure thing.